Now, let us begin with now microorganisms. Now, from the name itself, you can understand micro means small and the organisms means the living things which cannot be seen with the naked eye. They are called as the microorganisms. Now, categorize the following organisms into two groups according to the size: amoeba, paramecium, euglena. These are unicellular. Snail, elephant, pigeon, worms, they are multicellular. So we have learned that there are countless living organisms on the cell. Of these, the organisms which cannot be seen with the naked eyes but can only be observed under a microscope are called as microorganisms. Now the microorganisms are present all around us in the air, water, soil, food, sewage, garbage, as well as in the bodies of the plants and the animals, including humans. Some microorganisms are solitary, that is, they live singly. Example, amoeba, paramecium, whereas some live in colonies. Some microorganisms live on the remains of the dead plants and animals. Now, let us see how these microorganisms they are observed and measured. Now, keep a moistened piece of bread or bhakri in a closed box. Observe it for 3-4 days using a magnifying glass. Observe a drop of muddy water or water from a stagnant puddle under the compound microscope. Now take a drop of yogurt or buttermilk on a glass slide and observe it under a compound microscope. Now we cannot see objects smaller than 100 micrometer in size with our eyes. So we can make glass slides of microorganisms and observe them under a compound microscope. However, if a magnification of 1000 times, again here 1000 times means what? Magnification is 1000 times means size of the object will be, size of the image will be 1000 times bigger than that of the object. To prove to be insufficient, then we need to use an electron microscope to observe those microorganisms. Now, sizes of some microbes: paramecium about 100 micrometer, bacteria of typhoid 1 to 3 micrometer, poliovirus 28 nanometers. Microbes measure less than 100 micrometer. Even in these minute organisms, their organelles carry out all life processes with the single cell. Now take a drop of yogurt or buttermilk on a glass slide and observe it under a compound microscope. Now draw the sketches of the microbes you observe. Can the point of the needle accommodate microorganisms? The answer is yes, because point of the needle also can accommodate millions of microorganisms in them. Now, among the sketches you have drawn, you find out any microorganisms you see below. What inferences can we draw from their size? Now, these are the various microorganisms which are there shown in the figure. So, what we observe from it, some microorganisms like the fungus that grows on the bread or the strands of the algae in ponds are multicellular. However, most microorganisms such as bacteria and viruses are unicellular. So, here see, this is the fungus which grows on a bread. Then this is euglena. Then here these are the bacteria. Even this is bacteria. This also is bacteria, bacteria. This also is bacteria. Then here this is Spirogyra algae. Then this is amoeba. Then this one is virus. This also is virus, and the most common virus now which we are talking every day, this is the coronavirus. So COVID-19 virus, that also is the virus. So now they do not have a membrane bound organelles found in the eukaryotic cells. So the plasma membrane, cytoplasm and nucleoid are their only component. So such cells are called as the prokaryotic cells. So now here see, this prokaryotic cell do not have the organelles. They only have a cell wall, plasma membrane, nucleoid, cytoplasm and then the ribosomes. Whereas the eukaryotic cells, example is that the plant cell and the animals which we have seen, it consists of organelles in them. Now, growth of the microorganisms. Now, each microorganisms need a specific environment for growth and reproduction. Many microbes need oxygen for their growth, whereas some microbes can grow without oxygen. Some microorganisms survive even in extreme and adverse conditions like the ocean floor, ice in the polar region, hot water springs, etc. Now, during adverse condition, microorganisms form a thick covering around themselves and stop their life processes. On return of the favorable conditions, they come out of the protective covering and continue their life process. Now, according to the shape and the life processes, microorganisms are classified into five types: algae, fungi, protozoa, bacteria, and viruses. Now, these microorganisms again they can be classified into two types: useful and the harmful microorganisms. Now, take two earthen pots half filled with soil and mark them A and B. Mix some waste material like garden waste, dung, fruit peel, vegetable stalks, paper, scrap, etc. with the soil in pot A. Mix things like pieces of glass, scrap metal, plastic bags, etc. with the soil in pot B. Keep both the pots in the garden and observe them after 3 or 4 weeks. Now, did the garbage in the pot B remain unchanged? Yes, because in the garbage pot B, we have only added the scrap metal, plastics, pieces of glass which are non-living. So there will be no decomposition or the microorganisms will not be present. And in pot A, the microbes are present, so they will decompose the waste into the compost. Now, the microbes present in the soil, dung, etc., decompose the garbage to obtain food material. As a result, the garbage is soon converted into the manure of the best quality and our surroundings are kept clean. As in the case of garbage, for proper sewage disposal too, microbes are released into the sewage so as to help in the quick decomposition of the organic compounds in it. Now, the next question is, why should dry and wet waste be collected separately? The answer is, the dry waste like paper, plastic, metals and all, they are not they can't be decomposed, but they can be recycled and converted into the useful material. Whereas the wet waste such as the food remain, then the peels of the vegetables and the fruits, dung and all, they can be decomposed using microbes and can be converted into the manure. Now, observe the roots of the pea, bean and the fenugreek plants. What could be the function of the nodules on their roots? Now, the microorganisms are present in the root nodules. We have seen that some microorganisms present in the soil and those in the root nodules of the leguminous plants convert atmospheric nitrogen into its compounds. So, these nitrogenous compounds help to increase soil fertility and thereby the protein content of the pulses grown in that soil. Now, take a few drops of buttermilk is added to the lukewarm milk, and then the yogurt is prepared from the milk. If the few drops of yogurt or the buttermilk, if they are added with the lukewarm milk and it is kept at that temperature for 8 to 10 hours, microbes present in the drops of yogurt quickly multiply and milk gets converted into yogurt. Thus, the microbes are useful for producing milk products like butter, buttermilk, cheese, etc. So, thus we see that fermentation, it is a chemical process of conversion of one type of carbon compound into another type of carbon compound by the action of microorganisms, and heat is generated in that process and carbon dioxide and some other gases are also released. So, these gases cause an increase in the volume, like the bread dough and idli batter are seen to rise. The process of fermentation is used for making yogurt from milk. Yogurt is nothing but a curd. producing alcohol from grains and fruits, bread from flour, as well as in the production of acetic acid, citric acid, lactic acid, vitamins, antibiotics, etc. Now, why is yogurt mixed in the batter or dough for making rava idli, bhature, naan? So that the fermentation process takes place, and this one rava idli, bhature and naan, they become soft. How do preparations like yogurt, idli, dosa become easy to digest? Now, due to fermentation process, the complex substances, they are already decomposed into the simpler ones, and then it becomes easy to digest. So, if microbes are allowed to grow in batter, dough, fruit juices, etc., they break down these substances, producing new compounds as they grow and multiply in them. So these microbes real process is used in the production of various common foodstuffs. Now sometimes when you are ill, the doctor prescribes capsule or the injections of medicine like penicillin. Now these types of medicines destroy the pathogens and retard their growth. They are called antibiotics. So the antibiotics are produced with the help of specific microbes. Diseases like tuberculosis, typhoid, cholera, etc., which were previously considered incurable, have now come under control because of antibiotics. Domestic animals too can be protected from various diseases by mixing antibiotics with their food. Plant diseases can also be controlled with the help of antibiotics. Now, always remember, though antibiotics are useful for curing certain diseases, they can be harmful if used without consulting a physician. Hence, a course of antibiotics should be completely strictly following the doctor's prescription. In fact, we should not take any medicines on our own to treat ailments like body aches, headaches, common colds, etc. Now, why are the infants vaccinated according to a fixed time schedule so that they can be protected from the various diseases? Now, what is vaccine? Vaccine, it is the injection which is given to protect the child or the infant from the particular disease. So the vaccine is produced in a laboratory with the help of microbes that gives immunity against a particular disease. If we have been vaccinated against any disease, our immunity, that is the resistance to that disease, increases so that the possibility of contracting that disease is greatly reduced. Now the microbes are also used in processes like tanning of the skin, production of the ropes and strings from agave. Some microbes use oil for their growth. Such microbes are used to clear a layer of oil floating on the surface of an ocean or lake formed due to the leak or the spill, that is to clear an oil slick. Because in oceans, big ships are there which carry the oil. So sometimes oil spills are there from the ship and they form a coating of layer on the ocean water, which may prove harmful to the aquatic plants and the animals. So in that case, these microbes, they are spread on this oil spill so that they eat the oil, they feed on the oil, they use the oil for the growth, and thus the oil is cleared from the ocean. Now, farm waste, human urine and feces, wet garbage, etc. is collected and used in a biogas plant to produce the biogas and fertilizer. So, all these are the useful microorganisms which are there.